guys, today we're going to be working on simple interest for our financial literacy. Simple interest isn't too hard to solve as long as you can follow a formula and you're able to change a percent to a decimal. So our vocabulary word that we're starting with is simple interest, and the words that you're going to fill in are percent paid based on the original principal investment. Okay, so the definition of simple interest is percent paid based on the original principal investment. Okay, the formula that you are going to use to calculate simple interest is I equals principal times rate times time. Now each one of these is a variable. Okay, this variable, each of them has a specific thing that they stand for. I stands for your interest. Your interest is the amount of money that is earned. Your principal is the amount of money that you start with. Usually, it is the amount of money that you are depositing into a savings account. Rate is the rate that you can qualify for. So in the real world, you can qualify for different rates based upon how good your credit score is, and your rate will usually be given to you as a percent, and then you have to change that percent to a decimal. And then in 7th grade, our T stands for time and is usually in the number of years. So the first thing I want you to do, if you have not done so already, is I want you to click pause on this video, and then I want you to make sure that you have the definition of simple interest. You have the definition of each one of our variables. So we have interest, principal, rate, and time. And make sure you have these definitions put in. So that's the first thing you're going to do. So now that you have restarted your video, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to solve the following problem down here. Okay, so our first example, says that $485 is deposited into a savings account that earns 3.75 simple interest for 3 years. The first thing I'm going to look for is P, my principal. Remember, principal means that is the amount of money that you start with. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to find that $485, sorry guys, is deposited. So that is our principal. That is how much we are starting with. So I'm going to make sure to include 485. Okay, so I'm going to plug that in underneath so I know how much money I'm starting with. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to find my rate. Remember, we said that our rate is usually given to us as a percent, and then we have to change that percent into a decimal. Okay, so we're going to change our percent into a decimal. So that's what I'm going to do first. So I'm looking, I have 3.75%. You move Mr. Decimal 2 times to the left, so I'm going to move back 1, 2. And then in that open space, I'm going to put a 0. So I have decimal 0.375. So I'm going to plug that in as well. Now the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the time, the number of years that I'm watching my money grow. So I'm going to go back, it gives me a 3, so I'm going to put a 3 in. Now the next thing I'm going to do to find my interest that I've earned is I'm going to multiply the principal, the rate, and the time. I'm going to go ahead and multiply across so that I can break down what is happening. So I'm going to multiply 485 times decimal 0.375. Since our rate has more digits, I'm going to put that on top. So here I go. If you want to pause this video, you can, and then you can check to see if your multiplication matches mine. After you multiply, make sure you go through and you add your decimals. So I'm going to count. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm at 18.1875. Now, we usually don't have our cents go all the way this far out. Usually we just go to the hundredths place. So I'm going to look at the 75. That 75 is greater than 18 since it's, sorry, that 75 is greater than 50. Since the 75 is greater than 50, that's going to bump the 18 cents up to 19 cents. So what this means is in 1 year, I have earned $18.19 just by having my money in the bank. But the number of years that we're watching for is for 3 years. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 18.19 by 3. Okay, so after multiplying it, after 3 years, I have earned $54.57. So it's kind of exciting, but it took me 3 years to raise that much money, so that's kind of sad. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to solve this one down here below. If you want to try it on your own and then check yours, you can pause this video right now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for my principal. My principal is the amount of money that I'm depositing into the bank, how much money I'm starting with. So I have $5,600 is deposited into the savings account. So I'm going to highlight that in yellow, and I'm going to understand that that is my principal. That is how much money I'm starting with. So I'm going to fill in 56,000. 5,600. Sorry, guys. Next thing I'm going to look for is the rate. Remember, the rate is usually given to you as a percent, and then you change that percent into a decimal. So I earn a simple interest at 5.5%. So I'm going to change that 5.5% to a decimal. So I'm going to move Mr. Decimal 2 times to the left. So 1, 2. In that open space, I'm going to put a 0. So I have decimal 055. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. And then the next thing I'm looking for is T, the time. So if I go back, it says that I'm watching my money grow for 12 years. So I'm going to fill in a 12. Now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to multiply across the principal, the rate, and the time. I'm going to multiply the principal and the rate to see how much money I'm earning per year. So that means for 1 year, how much money do I earn by keeping my money in the bank? Just a quick tip, make sure that you're lining up your digits and not your decimal. Now that I'm done multiplying, I'm going to check to make sure I move over my decimal enough times. So on this one, I'm doing a little better, but I'm also depositing more money at the beginning. I'm earning $308 in 1 year, but I'm not going to touch my money for 12 years. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply my $308 by the 12. So I'm going to go 308 times 12 because I'm watching this money grow for 12 years and I'm not going to touch it so that I become super duper rich. So my interest is $3,696. Now, if I want to know how much money I would completely have in my bank account with the amount of money that I deposited and my interest for those 12 years, I would combine them by adding. So I'm going to add my deposit or my principal. So I'm going to add my principal, which is $5,600, plus my interest, which is how much money I earned by keeping my money in the bank and not touching it, which is $3,696. I'm going to add those together to see how much money I now have in my account. And just like that, I have turned my $5,000 into $9,000. So your key here is you got to make sure that you can find your principal, which is your starting balance, your rate that you have to change into a decimal, and then your T, which is your time in years. Okay, and now there's a lockdown drill going on. So sorry if I scared you. Okay, hope this helped you. Thank you.